Finding your center in a world that frequently seems to be spiraling out of control could seem like an impossible undertaking, which is where the traditional Stoic wisdom comes in. Reminds us that the only real possession we have is Stoicism, which is not only beneficial but also necessary. Despite every day is our capacity to regulate how we react to outside pressures. Subtle forces inundate our senses to mold our mindset. These forces are not randomly applied to acts or wants. They serve as both people's and institutions' manipulative instruments. We're delving deeply into today to learn from our responses. The practice of remaining authentic amidst these deceptive strategies. Knowing these tactics and being able to counter them are equally important. Making judgments that represent who you are instead of what the outside world says. We'll look at 10 Stoics that frequently demand more of you than they give back. Methods that will support you in keeping your independence and leading a morally upright existence. The first lesson without the invisible strings guiding your activities as they would otherwise come along, as we simplify these intricate relationships into understandings that can be put to use. Discover the ways that the contemporary world's information overload and emotional manipulation work together. Often encounter pitfalls and discover tactful ways to avoid them. This is a path toward empowerment and personal freedom, not just another how-to guide. Let's begin this journey together, guided by the Stoic philosophy. With information at our disposal and the courage to use it in our daily lives. This is a small favor I'd like to ask of you. Do you appreciate what we're doing here? Click the subscribe button, then let's get started. This is a subtle art, and one that is frequently missed until we are worn out emotionally. It's like being at sea when every wave reflects a different emotion, leaving us wondering how we got to that situation. Happy, afraid, guilty, depressed. Traders adept like sailors in season possess the ability to agitate these waves, turning a tranquil sea into a storm. To try to throw you off balance, picture yourself in this enormous ocean. Waves begin to rise out of nowhere, and while the sea is usually calm, your emotions are not. You feel the waves coming at you more and more, whether they be fear, joy, or guilt. Even when they don't explicitly show it, manipulators are skilled at taking advantage of these feelings. They could make you feel happy with a compliment before immediately criticizing you. It is a deliberate push and pull meant to topple you and send you plummeting into remorse, and make it easier to manipulate to get through these turbulent emotional waters. Knowing oneself well, our talents and weaknesses, is something the Stoics taught us. Our triggers, and above all, this self-awareness is like a compass. Lets you identify when you're being duped. A sailor uses it to navigate through heavy seas. Do you feel insecure following an interaction on an emotional level? Maybe after lavishly praising you, they wanted a big favor. The first step to sustaining these behaviors is identifying them, leaving you feeling indebted. Setting limits and maintaining your emotional stability is like putting a boundary or a line in the sand around your area. Where no unwelcome force may enter, it is essential to learn how to say no without feeling guilty. By saying no, it gives you the ability to resist attempts to control your feelings. Is putting your mental health first, which does not imply that you are cruel or self-centered. Yet another Stoic principle, keeping control of your own life, is to psychologically prepare yourself for situations in which manipulation may occur. Just as a sailor studies charts and weather patterns before setting off on a voyage. Examining previous exchanges and recognizing scenarios will help you get ready. You can brace yourself in situations where you feel manipulated by being prepared. And in real terms, stay on course by responding from a position of strength as opposed to vulnerability. This can require pausing even when emotional waves try to divert you. Before answering a request or allegation, discreetly analyze your sentiments. Having a confidant with whom you can share your emotions and who can verify your viewpoint could be necessary. The second lesson is unaffected by the agenda of others and based on reality. These Stoic principles help you defend against emotional manipulation as well as, but also develop over time in self-awareness and fortitude. Your capacity to navigate the manipulation's waves becomes evidence that they are less dangerous. To the strength of your mind and heart. Think about this, rather than addressing the core of your argument during a contentious debate. This is an example of an ad hominem fallacy, a diversionary tactic, when someone disparages your character. It effectively sidesteps the fundamental concerns by concentrating on you rather than the current argument. Quick generalization based on a tiny sample size is another prevalent error. To generalize about a group of people, such as after witnessing one careless biker, these falsehoods distort reality by implying that all cyclists are irresponsible, building a skewed perspective that may result in bias and poor judgment, as Stoicism instructs us how important it is to view things as they actually are and how valuable perception is not simply what things seem to be to avoid logical errors. We must have a rational and inquiring mind. Checking for evidence, thinking critically, and challenging the reasoning behind claims are all necessary skills. Stoicism places a strong emphasis on adhering steadfastly to what is known and verifiable. Engage in active dialogue with a critical ear to get at the truth. Keep an eye out for conclusions that lack sufficient evidence or claims that appear overly general. Consider carefully what proof there is for this assertion. Otherwise, is there another angle on this matter? In addition to keeping you safe from deception, this increases your comprehension and gratitude. As well as realizing these errors in your reasoning for sincere discussion is also crucial, since it's easy to let our logic fall into these pitfalls. Utilizing Stoic principles, particularly during times of strong emotion. With objectivity, you may watch your thoughts, spot prejudices, and bring them closer to the truth. With continued use of these strategies, you'll notice that your judgments and conversations get stronger, depicting a genuine Stoic pursuit of morality and knowledge while avoiding logical errors, aims to comprehend things more deeply and appreciate the truth rather than just winning debates. The fundamental ideas of Stoic philosophy by developing a rational mentality and proof that you are capable of navigating life's arguments with honesty and assurance, making certain that your thoughts and deeds are consistently based on truth, the third lesson. Consider entering your house to discover that everyone nearby has rearranged the furniture, denies it has been touched. Doubting your reality to this degree might cause you to feel as though you're slipping away from reality. As gaslighting is a sequence of events, it operates similarly, intended to cause you to question your recollections, your sense of self, or your sanity. This might be a subtle persuasion technique that begins with minor denials. For example, you may recall inconsistencies that initially appeared insignificant. One way in a chat, while the other person maintains it went another way, brushing off your account as an error. If an error occurs, these inconsistencies may intensify with time, encompassing larger portions of your recollection and self-perception. Making you doubt your stoicism and emphasizing the mind's dependability gives a strong defense against gaslighting by focusing on resilience and self-mastery. Stoic meditation on our ideas, perceptions, and actions, what we can control, can be immensely powerful in such circumstances. One useful tactic is to maintain a diary, a log of significant exchanges and occurrences. It serves as more than just a source of information, both as a means of verifying your recollections and serving as a tool for reflection, in addition to objectively confirming your feelings without any emotional bias. Sharing experiences via talks with therapists or reliable friends is essential. These talks may provide you with an outlook that is T from the coercive setting, setting you firmly in reality and reassuring you that your views are valid. To maintain one's independence from personal judgment, Stoics cherish the community and counsel of knowledgeable companions. And distinct, grounded in reality sensations, keep in mind the basis for your decisions and actions to safeguard this foundation is your understanding of the world.
is about taking care of your autonomy and integrity in addition to your mental wellness. Simply following your gut and looking for external validation, you can bolster your confidence in your senses by recognizing and honoring your reality. Is vital since every person has a different perspective on the world. Respectable and worthy of acknowledgement, gaslighting undermines the core of your individual experience. Nonetheless, you may protect your mind from such support by using the appropriate tactics and Stoic knowledge. Documenting, speaking with reliable people, and following your gut are actions consistent with the Stoic philosophy that support preserving more than just your sanity. Nevertheless, your calm as a stone, subtle, often undetectable peer or group pressure can have a significant impact on our choices, and convictions are its silent force, pushing us in the direction of conformity. It's like being swept away from our actual inclinations by a light current. 4. Lesson. It stealthily diverts you off your intended course, and this influence can be particularly potent. Since it plays on our natural need to fit in and be accepted by others, facilitating the simple decision to follow the herd, even when it goes against our core beliefs, Stoicism instructs us to be true to our principles by emphasizing inner strength and personal ethics. The Stoic idea of adhering to what we can control despite outside influences. It gives us the ability to stand our ground and not let the masses influence us. It is crucial in this regard to cultivate a strong sense of self-worth and self-assurance. Being aware of your identity and principles is crucial, as it serves as a stabilizing force. Cultivate this inner strength even in the face of powerful social currents. Think about your principles, your objectives, and the rationale behind your decisions when you engage in regular self-reflection. Because of this self-awareness, you become less vulnerable and more confident in your choices. Never forget that it's not about separating oneself from other people to avoid being swayed by their opinions. Instead of identifying when you are being affected and continuing to be authentic within the group. Is another vital talent that can occasionally be seen, such as when someone directly presses you. Occasionally, it's more subdued, like feeling obligated to fulfill an implicit expectation. Even in situations where you disagree, ask yourself if you can accept the group decision. Is my decision motivated by a need to fit in, or by my conviction that it's the right one? Being brave and equal means sticking to your position, especially when you are the only one taking it. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius is highly regarded in Stoic philosophy. Frequently discussed is the value of upholding one's convictions in the face of resistance. This may be speaking up against the agenda item or taking the unpopular route during a meeting, but upholds your moral principles, and wholesome partnerships and communities will accept these variations. Realizing that a range of opinions enhances rather than detracts from the group. Saying no to other people while standing by your beliefs and yourself is not the only way to fight peer pressure. Connecting with others and being true to your path requires a careful balance. Our innate need for validation and acceptance is exploited by this type of manipulation since it feels nice to be praised. When hear that we possess extraordinary talent or brilliance, especially if it seems to flow naturally, honestly, but excessive flattery might impair our judgment if it comes from an inappropriate place, diminishing our ability to discern strategic goals and increasing our susceptibility to influence instruction. #5 Stoicism teaches us the value of self-awareness, even when its words are gentle. Preserving an impartial assessment of our personalities and skills, making Seneca one of the most respected. The Stoic philosophers cautioned against letting other people's views dictate our emotional condition. He promoted considering oneself from a balanced angle and appreciating one's strengths. A balanced self-perception that acknowledges one's shortcomings protects against flattery-induced manipulation when you are aware of your worth. You can be appreciative of real appreciation while being wary of compliments and your weaknesses alike that don't seem appropriate for the circumstances or are unduly kind. Think back on your accomplishments and attributes to develop this defensive self-awareness exercise. When evaluating praise, be realistic about whether it aligns with your own. Knowledgeable about the consequences of your actions? If you receive a lot of praise from someone who appears excessive or unjustified, take into account their reasons. Are they asking for a favor? Perhaps attempting to sway your judgment? An examination of this kind can reveal the real motives. That, in addition to addressing these incidents, may be hiding behind their complimentary remarks, has dependable mentors or friends that can offer an outside viewpoint that supports this outside confirmation can be quite helpful if you want to confirm or refute your concerns. When circumstances allow you to question if the compliments you're getting are genuine, a stoic composure is necessary to navigate the treacherous waters of excessive flattery. Having a solid foundation in reality through upholding an accurate, realistic self-perception, you may prevent being duped by challenging the intentions behind extremely complimentary remarks. And keep yourself independent in the same way that the Stoic does not let unwarranted criticism bother them. To allow children to engage with others, they should also resist being misled by excessive praise. With truthfulness and sincere assurance, these are a very dangerous type of manipulation that is frequently applied gradually and covertly. It may distance you from your support system, which could increase your reliance on the manipulator to increase their power and influence over your choices and emotions, like trying to cross a bridge without any support when the strong railing is removed. When someone starts to isolate you, you become more susceptible to slipping off or being misled. Little advice or critiques of your friends or relatives could be the first thing to go. Are you sure you can trust them, for example, what they would say? Perhaps, in my opinion, they genuinely care about your well-being, but these remarks may sow skepticism about your interpersonal connections. Over time, making you wonder about the motives of people who are closest to you. You may feel more alone and reliant on others if you retreat from your support system as a result. The individual behind the isolated Stoic philosophy, which prioritizes wisdom, lesson no. 6. Personal freedom motivates us to retain our cognitive independence and cherish those connections that genuinely enliven our lives. The Stoics advise us to be selective about who we let into them. Emphasize the value of supportive connections and the community as well. In his writings, Marcus Aurelius often discussed how all humans are connected, as well as the significance of reciprocal assistance in preserving solid bonds. Combating isolation methods is not only advantageous, but also vital to our well-being. Consistently strive to stay in touch with friends and family. Aggressively cultivate your relationships. Additionally, communicate openly about your encounters and experiences. Sharing ideas with reliable people not only solidifies your relationships, but also offers protection. Opposes manipulation by producing a feedback loop that can provide viewpoints. Building clear boundaries outside of the possibly deceptive connection, determining who you want to spend time with, and maintaining personal boundaries are also essential. Regarding the way that people ought to treat you, when things don't feel right, follow your gut. About how someone is behaving toward your loved ones or pals, or if you're feeling lonely when you feel this way after spending time with someone, it's usually a sign that something is off. Our internal compass is something that Stoicism encourages us to heed. Keep the lifelines of your relationship intact using our progress, which directs our moral decisions and judgments. Robust and engaged, whether it be through weekly calls to family frequent get-togethers with friends, or even engaging in local events, these relationships create a network of safety. That protects you against trying to isolate yourself and maintains your mental health. These kinds of networks could serve as a strong barrier, keeping you in check. In the spirit of Stoic resilience, stay rooted and authentic. Since it fictitiously reduces your apparent possibilities, this strategy can be quite disturbing. Making decisions for you that might not be in line with your wishes or best interests, it is comparable to feeling forced to follow a trail as it narrows through a thick forest. Even if it's the only obvious course of action, it doesn't feel right.
The first thing to do in circumstances where you're given an ultimatum is to delay responding.
Instead, step back, take a deep breath, and make some mental space despite the urge to do so. This is an important break since it lets you take a little break from the situation's immediate tension, providing you with the perspective you need to carefully consider your decisions. Stoicism is a philosophy that emphasizes the need for restraint and reasoned judgment. Can be very useful in this case. The Stoic attitude would urge you to evaluate the circumstances. Ask yourself, utilizing logic rather than feeling, what the true course #7 implications of every choice. Are there any substitutes that we haven't discussed? Making decisions based on this framework will help you steer clear of reactionary decisions, and instead, make decisions that are proactive and consistent with your principles. Additionally, Stoicism emphasizes that making morally right judgments and attempting to preserve our agency are important goals, as well as moral principles. This entails doing more than merely approving the possibilities, as provided, yet actively considering alternative options despite the pressure occasionally. Redefining the conditions on your terms is the best way to respond to an ultimatum. Decide which option will make you feel the most at peace with yourself when weighing your alternatives. You must make decisions based on your inner values, since this guarantees that you are being authentic. Not only is this alignment more satisfying than merely giving in to outside pressures, but you should also act with honesty and integrity. In conclusion, keep in mind that receiving an ultimatum frequently indicates an unequal power dynamic in a partnership. Examine the dynamics that brought you to this position, whether they be personal or professional. Then explore your options for dealing with these fundamental concerns. Sometimes the most stoic course of action should look for a way to continue living your life independently while avoiding similar demands in the future, and encouraging better relationships in the face of demands, accepting the stoic qualities of understanding, bravery, fairness, and moderation. These will help you answer from a place of knowing rather than one of fear or obligation, guaranteeing that your deeds represent more than just the least of two evils, but your best manifestation of who you are. An attempt is being made to shift responsibility onto you through the use of manipulation. You may feel unfairly guilty since they frequently use you as the scapegoat for events that are beyond your control, and considering yourself to be at fault, but knowing in your heart that you are not being accused of producing a storm is a strange experience. When you did nothing but observe the clouds billowing in the face of assigning blame, as the Stoic philosophy says, it's imperative to stand firmly in your truth. Should concentrate solely on our controllable options, such as our plans, actions, and reactions. This proverb, which reminds us to keep a clear separation between, it's not enough to simply reject unfair blame. We also need to consider the behaviors that others have forced upon us, but also about being aware of and demanding our responsibilities' boundaries. Gaining a firm grasp of the circumstances is the first step towards effectively combating blame shifting. Critically evaluate the incidents. What part did you play? What were the genuine factors that you could have controlled? Instruction #8. It's possible to determine whether you're being blamed by detaching the facts from the feelings around them. Is justified and vigorous, unambiguous communication is essential. People may be discouraged from employing this strategy if you explicitly define and communicate your boundaries. For instance, if someone claims that you're the reason behind a difficulty at work, that was truly the result of outside variables that calmly explain the events that transpired. I can appreciate your frustration, as well as your role in them, if any. Instead of laying blame where blame isn't due, let's investigate what transpired so we can deal with the underlying problems. Managing blame shifting requires you to maintain your mental and emotional well-being at all times. With its promotion of detachment, Stoicism provides instruments for this preservation. Marcus Aurelius, a Stoic philosopher, distanced himself from outside viewpoints and concentrated on virtue within. wrote frequently about the value of not letting other people's poor decisions affect you. He promoted an internal stronghold, a mental stronghold where your sense by engaging in introspective practice, you protect your virtues and sense of self from outside lies and charges. Further strengthening your defenses with an honest self-evaluation by consistently evaluating your behaviors and motivations, you can deter blame shifting. Your ability to respond to blame is strengthened when you make sure that your conscience is clear. Having self-assurance and moral rectitude. Choosing what is relevant might be difficult when there is too much information available. Furthermore, this inundation can cause you to make decisions without fully understanding what is happening, like being at a library or just giving up from the pressure of having too many options. Many books speaking at once, making it difficult to locate the one you need. Navigates this deluge of information, which can be overwhelming. Stoicism reminds us of the value of concentration. Lesson #9. As well as the controlled transfer of what we let into our minds, the Stoic habit of ignoring everything else and concentrating on what matters is extremely beneficial in this situation since it simplifies and divides information into digestible chunks. Clarity and control over your decision-making process are restored. Begin by determining which key facts are pertinent to the choice at hand, examining the information you get seriously to address the problem at hand. What's the origin? What does it intend to accomplish? What is the connection between it and the other facts? Focus on what provides value. This procedure is like going through stones to uncover gems. Reject the remainder and don't be afraid to seek clarification. Increasing your comprehension is the goal here, not merely acquiring additional data. Clarification questions enable you to go deeper into the information you currently possess. Slicing through any superfluous information that may have been added to confuse or complicate the situation to get right to the core of the problem. Can you explain how this is relevant? Kind of queries. Or where did this information originate? Can aid in clearing your mind and navigating through the confusion. The significance of remaining in control is stressed by the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Within one's head, and resisting being swayed by outside influences. This entails actively managing how you receive information when dealing with information overload, and analyze data, restricting the amount you take in from a select few trustworthy sources or establishing boundaries. Methods that can be useful depending on how much time you spend processing information. Asking insightful questions demystifies complicated material and maintains your clarity of mind by concentrating on what matters most. Using vigor and determination, this method not only conserves your mental energy, but also conforms to the Stoic ideal of leading a rational life devoid of unneeded interruptions. Instruction #10, and in keeping with your basic beliefs. This may make it seem as though you're negotiating a discussion with someone who abruptly decides to take a detour. Confusion and annoyance might result from straying off the main route and its destination, and a disappointing conclusion since the discussion's initial goals are no longer met. In these instances, it is crucial to stay focused amidst a tangle of unconnected tangents. Held firmly to the discussion's goal, just as a Stoic person stays committed to their beliefs, notwithstanding outside interruptions, Stoicism teaches us the importance of meaningful conversation and the significance of confronting problems head-on when a discussion veers off topic. Return the conversation, gently but forcefully, to the main subjects. You can accomplish this by recognizing, for instance, summarizing the new point and then relating it to the primary topic. If an office politics conversation deviates from the topic of work obligations until later, see you? That's an intriguing point, you could think. So let's concentrate on fixing we can handle other issues later, raising doubts about their significance. But for now, let's focus on the current problem. It is also important to inquire gently about any abrupt topic shifts. How does the new subject relate to the initial discussion? Questions like these not only highlight the change while simultaneously pressing the other person to think about if they are straying from the topic. This tactic, whether on purpose or not, is consistent with the Stoic discipline of introspection and inspires others to reflect similarly on their style of discourse. It takes more than simply ardent adherence to the original issue to keep the conversation on topic. However, to keep the dialogue honest and relevant, attentive listening is necessary. The Stoics regarded clear responses and maintaining mental awareness, and open communication, seeing it as fundamental to comprehending and successfully resolving issues. Essentially, it takes time and a composed manner to keep a focused conversation going. Stoic philosophy's essential characteristics by exhibiting these characteristics. The direction and tone of conversations can be influenced by you to encourage more organized and purpose-driven communication, which not only increases the productivity of talks, but also strengthens your bonds with others via sincere and enriching dialogue. Upon concluding our exploration of Stoic wisdom today, keep in mind that finding the peace and clarity we desire in life is crucial, are frequently the result of questions we dare to ask rather than the solutions we find. We appreciate your participation in this discussion at Stoic Journal. It enhances our learning. Observe one of the recommended videos to have a deeper knowledge of the depths of Stoic thinking. With every step you take along this journey, your resolve is strengthened on your screen. Thank you for being a vital component of our trip, which not only links you to a community of thinking seekers,